Hi, welcome to this video and welcome back to my workshop. This is the Logitech or Cytec switch panel out of my simulator. Now, I'm flying more the PMDG 777 and 737 these days, and these switches don't work in it. They do funny things, and in the 777, if you put the landing gear up on this, it causes all the lights to go funny. So I could turn off your landing lights, turn your interior lights off or anything, so it's really strange. So there's not much I can do about that because there's no actual configuration file. The simulator doesn't even recognize this. It works off an external driver, which you would know with Microsoft Flight Simulator. So I've got one of these, a Leo Bodnar 32 port switch, which you attach to USB, and then you use something like SPAD Next, or in my case FSU IP7, to map those switches to functions within the simulator. And if you're into the SDK files, you can find almost everything on the 777 and 737 in there. So what I'm going to do is, just as an experiment to try it out, I'm going to remove this landing gear switch from the board in the back here and just put it on here, so it's the only function, and it won't be part of this anymore. And with that, it should remove that annoying light switching thing. And then for the second stage, in the next video, I'm going to move all these switches across to this. And then my plan is to build a couple of the other panels that are in there. And after we've used up this board, I'm going to get myself a lightly smarter board in an Arduino Mega, because the Arduino Mega allows you to have outputs as well, so you can turn LEDs on and off. So in this particular case, the reason I'm leaving the electronics alone in the back of this is because the three lights for the landing gear will still work correctly, even though I'll remove this switch and put them out, because they get their inputs back through the original one. That bit actually works. Alright, so let's take it apart and have a look. Okay, so I've already done this, but we'll start off by remove the 4 screws on the outer side of the panel, and you remove these 4 switches from the back. It's not necessary to pull that off or this off. Mainly this one's really hard, but this one comes off easily, but you don't need to do that. So let's pop this off. I use a guitar pick. Just like you're opening up a remote control, just run the pick along. Okay, so there we have it. So if we look in the back here, we've got, I'll just try and bring it around so you can see it. Okay, so you have your single switch here. You have the switch down this end for the start and left, right, both start, etc. for your Cessnas or whatever. And all these other switches are on this board, and they come around from both ways to this cable attachment here. I don't know if you can see those, the black wires there, and they come around to the board here. So really all I need to do is unplug that, so there's no conflicts, and I'll get a cable, I haven't got it yet, to plug into this. That'll be the easiest way, and then I can run those out to the Leo Bodnar board. But this one here today, I'm going to unsolder that, and we're going to hook some wires up and hook up this landing gear lever. So let's get on with that. Okay, now with the benefit of hindsight, I thought I'd try and explain a little bit more clearly of why I'm doing this. So these Logitech boards use a protocol called Lua. Now Lua doesn't work with FSU IP7, it works only with SPAD Next as far as I know, or if you have a specific driver. So because I have FSU IP7, I still can't control these switches. And in the future, this is going to cause me a lot of problems. That's going to result in me having to get rid of all my Logitech boards and switch totally over to the ones that I make. But for now, I'm just focusing in on this. So I'm removing it from the Lua environment where I can't control it and it does random things, to an environment that I control every switch, every dial, every display, and that way nothing random is going to happen. Okay. So there's 3 wires going to it, a brown, an orange and a pink. And I'm going to unsolder them. Okay, so I've got those 3 boards now, 3 wires out, sorry, and they will go to this little board here. So we're going to remove those wires, we're not going to use them. I'm going to put 3 new wires. In fact, what I'll probably do with those, I'll just put a bit of tape on them and isolate them, because I want to do this repair like I did with the cyclic, in that it can be put back to normal if in the future, you know, I want to sell it on. Right, well, I've got some wire here. This is AG20 wire, and I'm just going to tin it. Sorry, I'm using my cutters here to tin it like that. I'm just trying not to get bits of plastic and everything. And to do that, it's quite simple. You know, I use this stuff, the flux, and I pop that in the end. You don't really need to do this, I just find it easier if I do. I've got my little, I think that's in view. Now a little clampy thing here. And I'll put the 3 wires in that. And just separate them so they're not touching each other, of course. And get my solder and tin them. That way they'll be easier to solder onto that connector. I didn't have any pink, unfortunately, but I've got red and brown and orange. So the brown and the orange go on the outside, and the red or the pink went in the middle at the back. It's not a great, actually, I'm going to take that out again. If I'm going to show this, I should show the row A, shouldn't I? Now I do tend to leave everything I do in the videos, because as I said in my last one, I don't want people saying, oh, this didn't work, because you didn't really show what you did. This is how I normally do it, right? Stick the solder up, heat up heat up my wire. Right, when that's hot, touch that to the solder, and that's it. Now, on this, on the actual board, I want to do this in place. So I think the best way to do it is with some solder wick. So this is solder wick. It's very friendly with solder. So all you have to do is heat up the post, put this on it, and it'll suck up all the solder, and then we'll be able to remove it all. Let's do it nicely. Is that working? It's not really working, is it? Of course. Now you don't really want to spend too long on these, because if they heat up too much, they could damage the actual component itself. Trying to get in here. Okay. So that's cleaned up all three of those holes. So now I'm going to be able to actually push the wire through and then solder it. So I'll start off with the pink one. It's probably a bit long. Anyway. So it's like juggling cats. Okay, that's one down. Orange. Orange goes in there. These ones are easier because they're on the top. And the brown is in there. Alright. So I'm just going to get a bit of insulation tape and keep these three out of the way, because I don't want any and we'll run these out the bottom. I think we've got a hole in the back there. I might make another hole in the back. I'll bring you back in a second when that's done. Just going to drill a hole in the back here, and I'm going to tape those 3 bits of wire up. Right, so we're back. So I've sort of twisted these into a bit of a plait, drilled a hole in the back of this, so I'm going to stick that through. I'm not going to chop these wires down, I'm going to leave them long, just while I'm doing this experiment. It shouldn't matter if they're a bit longer. I just want to keep this sort of tidy once I put it back in the in its mounting rack. It's almost like a conspiracy, isn't it, when all these tools want to get around your whatever it is you're working on. Anyway, there goes that plat. Hopefully the plat will fit through there. If it doesn't, yeah, it does. Alright, so I'm leaving that one hanging out. I'm gonna put this back together, hopefully. Okay, all clicks back together. There we go. Alright, let's put the screws back in and we'll go back down to the sim. Just thought I might mention there's two different sizes of screw in the back of these. The longer ones go into that in the middle there, and the smaller ones go on the outside. Okay, well, we're ready to go. Let's head back down to the simulator. These little push button things, so the cables go straight into them, but I need to strip the end off just for a second. So I've only got one ground. So I'll do the first pin in the first one. Just put it in there, press down the little button on top, and you can push the wire in and then it won't come out. So it's like a zero insertion force thing. I'm putting my ground as the next pin along. And I'm putting the second active pin on my third wire. Okay, so they're the three. Now I've got to find the other end of this. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it's a USB type B. I'm putting that in. And I'm turning it on the hub. Alright, so let's fire up the simulator and find out if it works. Okay, so here we are. Now, to be honest, I've lost the original footage of this, so I'm just going to do a bit of a reenactment. But I'll explain in the video clips that I do have what happened later on. With this, there's a lot more of this programming coming up in other things, so you'll see more specific how it works. So you click assignment and buttons and switches, and it would normally come up like this with nothing ticked. If you enter a configuration in here, it would come back and it would go for everything. It would be generic across all the aircraft you have in the simulator. But for the PMDG aircraft in particular, I click profile specific, which means that any configurations I do now only apply to, in this case, the PMDG 777-300ER. So if I click the switch, like for example this one, it could be any switch that you have on a device that's recognized by the FSU IPC7 software. You could then, for example, click that preset and go in here, Mobi Flight,
go down and find, you'll see all the favourite ones are all there. PMDG, so you've got 737, 777. I'm in this 777 here, but if we went to the 737, for example, and we went into gear, we would come down here to landing gear, and we'd do gear down, or gear up, or gear lock, and they work. They're preset here. Unfortunately, if you go to the 777, when you go into gear, they actually don't appear here, which is an oversight at the moment, but unfortunately that's just the way it is. So how do you do it? Well, you can do it one of two ways. You can either just untick the preset, you can do an FS control, and you can drop this down, and you can go and find in this list gear, which is okay. That would apply to the 777 in this case, but it's a generic command. If you wanted it to be specific to the 777 in this case, you actually have to go to custom control, and in here you would enter 69927. Okay, and you would type in 0, and 0 is down and 1 is up. Okay, but you have to check the FSU IPC offsets for the Boeing, or for the PMDG Boeing 777. So that's how you do it. Then you just click on OK. I've cleared that because I don't want to actually do that. So you click that, you come back in here, and then it would be active. I'll flick it on the control. You can see it tries to change, but because I'm actually on the ground, it won't do it. So that's it. See, I'm on the ground. So that's it for now. Back to the main video.
Okay, so there you have it. It's going up and down, if you can still see it in the background. Anyway, I'll explain where I got that number from. There's a preset number in the SDK. There's a file you can look for, and it's a constant, which is 29632, and you add that to the offset, which is 295 in this particular case for the landing gear. And 0 should be up and 1 should be down, but when I tested it, 1 didn't work. So it would put it up, but it wouldn't put it down. So I changed to the generic gear down. I tried to avoid doing that, and the reason was that the gear lever was causing problems. I didn't want to use the generic value, but it obviously it's not that, it's something else on that board. Anyway, that's it for now. So from here we're going to move on to getting in here and changing all the switches out so that they run on this board and actually work, because these are obviously not programmable. That's the problem with the switch panel and the autopilot panel. The Logitech ones don't appear actually in the sim and can't be configured. So we're going to get by that. Anyway, you all look after each other, be kind to one another, and I will see you on the next video. Oh, and thank you very much to my 500th through 506th subscribers that have joined this channel for the adventures and things that we get up to. So a wholehearted welcome. Thank you very much for subscribing to my channel. I'll see you all next time.